Hi, this is Amber Arif. Today we are going to talk about critical and contemporary issue in early childhood education. Assessment task 2 is story listening. I would like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owner of the land on which we met today. I would also like to pay my respects to elders past and present. I extend that respect to the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples here today. For this project, I listened to the heartbreaking story of the Australian generation, Sheila Humphreys, whose parents were removed from her as a toddler and placed into an orphanage by authorities who believed they knew best. Open the story with, "This is not a pretty one." Sheila is the voice of the stolen generation, experienced abuse and neglect as a child, along with many other Indigenous Australian children, which had a lasting impact on her adult life. Sheila's life is still greatly impacted, and it is an important period in Australian history that we must never forget. How did I listen to the story? When I'm listening to a story or anything in general, I usually use the deep listening technique. I make an effort to clear my environment of all distractions so that I may listen carefully. This concept is unique in my opinion because it facilitates the extraction of actual details and feeling from the narrative. I experienced a strong sense of connection while listening to the story of Sheila Humphreys, my stolen childhood and a life to rebuild. The suffering of the children of the infamous stolen generation who were taken from their homes and forced to live in a strange place with all of these strange people is all I can imagine. Hearing Sheila Humphreys' account of how she was treated like a slave and subjected to discrimination because of her race made me very sad. Resilience and optimism are the story lessons which highlight the Aboriginal people's strength and courage. These children were under constant pressure to fit in with the other cultures rather than being distinctive in their own, even though they had never met their relatives. The fact that is actually happened and that many members of First Nation community were impacted is deeply upsetting and disappointing. For me, the most significant was when Indigenous people encountered discrimination and were never treated like human beings. As an immigrant, I understand the pain and challenges that comes with relocating one's entire family and moving to a new country. Ultimately, though, I made a decision because I desire a better future for myself. I experienced some discrimination upon arriving in Australia due to my language barriers, but it wasn't that bad. When I finished listening to this story, I simultaneously felt incredibly grateful for everything in my life. Even though my family and I live in different countries, I'm still thankful for my career and the opportunity it has given me. As Rinaldi stated that listening requires being aware of the pattern that bind us to one another. All of our senses should be engaged in open, sensitive listening. It is not appropriate to use the ears alone. Listening is the best way to learn about the different signals, codes, and accent people use to communicate. Upon hearing about the experience of the stolen generation, I strive to put myself in their shoe. Even though racism still exists in Australia, I think things have greatly improved. My experience has shown me that amongst all the cultural groups, there are divisions due to regional languages and generation. When interacting with the parents of children from different cultural backgrounds, this is something that we really need to consider. For this reason, I'm optimistic that if we continue to pay close attention to these stories and use anti-bias strategies, we can foster just comfortable and compassionate interaction with people from different cultural backgrounds. As Nolan and Raban said, we will have the ability to improve the lives of upcoming immigrants generations as well as those of Indigenous people. My goal as a prospective teacher is to foster a sense of community using the Burford-Bernard ecological system theory of child development by incorporating family, friends, community, and culture. According to Joel, it is our duty to ensure that every child gets the opportunity to hear. In favor of the rights of young children, the goal of the Early Childhood Australia approved statement of intent is to assist the early childhood educators in comprehending and ensuring that the children under their care have access to their rights. I will use my keen listening skill to ensure that every child's voice is heard in order to achieve this. I will learn about various cultural practices and perspectives as well as how to communicate and connect it with others from different cultural backgrounds by paying close attention when I listen. Additionally, by honoring each family's cultures, custom, and way of life, it will help me to work with families and communities more effectively. I plan to offer them a more purposeful and captivating educational setting. The Australian Human Rights Commission. I will also share stories from several cultures and incorporate cultural variety into my practice.